Hey, little biscuits and sun-dried tomatoes. It's your girl, Tatiana from Medium Popcorn, back with another interview from an Africa Roundtable. I had the pleasure of connecting with Alexis Aggrey, the director and a producer of the PBS documentary Becoming Thurgood, America's Social Architect. It's a 1 hour documentary that explores the life and legacy of the visionary lawyer and civil rights leader who became the first Black justice on the United States Supreme Court. Thurgood Marshall. The film premiered September 9th on PBS. Please make sure to check your local listings. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page for future reviews and celebrity interviews. And as always, a special thanks to AFCA for this opportunity. Now here's my interview with Alexis Aggrey.
Thank you, Miss Agri. My name is Tatiana, and I'm with Medium Popcorn Podcast. And one of the things I remember learning about Thurgood is that he had his passion for law began with like almost like a punishment assignment and like pulling the Constitution and reading some pieces of that. And it made me interested in learning possibly what was like surprising for you and in learning all these things about him. What was like the most surprising fact?
I think so that I think is a good example of like without sort of familial input, the story gets sort of contorted. So that story has been kind of debunked a couple of times. He was actually a really good student and his mother was a teacher. The likelihood that he was disciplined in that way is kind of unlikely. He actually went to the gifted and talented Black school. Like not only did he go to like the Black school, we went to the gifted and talented Black school, and he was he his father really loved the law, and even though he was a steward at an all-white country club, on his days off he took the boys, Aubrey, his older brother, and Justice Marshall Thurgood, to watch cases in the Baltimore courthouses. And that is like the beginning of his love for the law. And also the boys in that house, as they were known on the block, had these like violent debates. They would like yell and scream and argue with each other and litigate just about anything. So one of the things that I think was sort of surprising or really interesting, because I think we think about Justice Marshall and his work, and it's, I mean, scrolls and scrolls and scrolls of contribution to American history. But he was like a cool guy. Like he was like a frat guy, and like very gregarious. And people used to come in the Supreme Court, the clerks talk about, going just to sit, listen in to the stories that he would tell in the evenings. And I wish we could have included things like that in the film, but there just really truly wasn't enough time on the clock. But I think finding out that he was like funny and like the guy, like the guy everybody wanted to hang out with, hilarious, tall, thought of as like strapping and very handsome, which he didn't really care much about. But like, I don't know. I think about humanizing him in that way and that making his work even more interesting.
Thank you so much. Also, I am loving this conversation. I am such a nerd. I love just like taking info and whatnot. So I appreciate everything you're saying and all the questions my colleagues are asking as well. Um, with that being said, because I know this particular documentary is only about an hour, it's on PBS, one of my favorite stations. Um, what would be some recommendations you would give for people who are looking to add on to the information you're providing to them and do their own research?
I think this is a really good question. There's a lot of content that exists in terms of like oral histories and like hearing Justice Marshall speak for himself. There's an oral history at Yale. Um, uh, and there's lots of sort of footage and audio records. Voice of America, something that we sort of touch on briefly, but we don't really get an opportunity to expand on in the film, is that Justice Marshall during the 60s and 70s committed himself to African countries that were getting they were being decolonized. So Ghana is an example, Kenya is an example, Tanzania are examples of countries that needed to write constitutions for the very first time. And they looked to people like Thurgood Marshall, who traveled to Africa and traveled to these countries to help write these constitutions. Because of his work in the civil rights movement in America, and because of his ascending to the bench, who better? Who better than to help draft these constitutions? So I think, one of the things that was really interesting to me, I'm Ghanaian, my last name is Ghanaian, I'm Ghanaian, my father is Ghanaian. And I think about Kwame Nkrumah being his classmate at Lincoln. And then later on in their careers, Kwame Nkrumah is liberating Ghana, but also calling upon his former classmate to come help us draft this, come help us justify this. So I think there are lots of stories that could be told and can be read about. There are plenty of books from amazing biographers that sort of deep dive into more stories about Justice Marshall's life. I think there's not a lot of films that are sort of family, certified. But there are a lot of books that are really, really powerful in sort of telling the story of his life after sort of civil rights and what else did he do? Because he did a lot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And always wonderful work, and just the commitment to providing history as factually accurate as possible. I know it's hard. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Medium popcorn, we are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn, woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault.